Tallahassee, Florida. I just left Tallahassee, listening on 1450 AM. Rufus, welcome to Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. You got Andre and Reverend Williams. Go ahead.
Enjoy the show. Enjoy the show. Thank you.
Thank you.
My comment is I agree that a lot of what the president is doing for the short term, it may seem like it's profitable or worthwhile, but something that he's not done is be held accountable. And while I'm for American safety, there is something called congressional approval for action.
Right.
And, you know, President Obama was smart enough to say, Congress, if you want me to do this, you approve it. And they didn't want nothing to do with it. There was a reason why. And this president has moved forward, and Congress is not actively doing their part. And unless he's held accountable, we're going to get ourselves into something that will hurt us for years to come. I just want to hear your comments. Thank you.
You're absolutely correct. I'll let Reverend Williams comment on that first, and maybe I'll squeeze a word or two in there. Go ahead, Reverend Williams.
I think he's absolutely right. I mean, congressional oversight is what this Constitution has charged us with, the ability for Congress to have the ability to be the only body that charges for war. And I think that makes very much sense because they are the ones who have to deal with the grassroots of the families and the individuals who will come home, dismembered, who will come home in boxes. I mean, that is a very, very real concern that I think we should have when it comes to just, you know, willy-nilly dropping these bombs and starting this conversation in regards to what we're going to do to Korea or what we're going to North Korea and what we're going to do in Syria and what we're going to do in Russia. I mean, we can't just have these conversations in a vacuum in the White House or in the executive branch. We got to expand it to the legislative branch because that's the place where those decisions are made. And I think that, you know, President Trump, quite frankly, and the reason why President Obama could do this is why he did that was because he had to deal with Iraq and Afghanistan when he walked in the door. When he walked in the door, he dealt with a full-scale Iraq and Afghanistan. When Trump walked in the door, he dealt with a dialed-down Iraq and Afghanistan. So he hasn't had to meet enough families. He hasn't had to see enough veterans who had no legs. I mean, this is war and the attempt of war and the conversation of war is a very serious thing, and it just doesn't suit him to go into this just to get his ratings up or to make people change conversations off of some of the lies and the decisions that he's making. I mean, that is why we need to make sure Congress, and we should be calling for and holding them accountable to say, hey, they need to speak up and really get into this.
I agree with you 100%. I think you pretty much said everything I needed to say. You know, and all of this, you know, is this ongoing doctrine of preemption and borderline unilateralism when you're dealing with these kinds of situations is not wise. We should have learned our lessons from Iraq, but I don't think, obviously, we didn't. 877-532-5797. We're running out of time on this Exhale Friday. Y'all better get in wherever you can fit in. Let's go to line one. Linda joining us from Detroit, listening on 1200 WCHB. Linda, welcome to Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. You got Andre and Reverend Charles Williams. Your thoughts today?
Thank you, Andre and Mr. Williams. But what I'm wondering is Mr. Williams is a minister from Detroit. And I don't understand why nobody is talking about the way they're doing the churches here. And they got this water tax, sewage tax attached to the churches where they have to pay $20,000, $30,000 for water fees, and a lot of the churches are closing up, moving out. They can't afford to do this. I don't understand why the minister's not talking about that. And they poison the water in Flint. But what they're doing in Detroit, since Mr. Duggan created this Great Lakes Authority, they're using the water to hurt us. They're attaching this water fee to every homeowner in Detroit, and it's called a sewage fee, and it's 20 times more than what your actual water bill is.
Yeah.
And you see both of them on the bill. And no one is talking about this. And then they created the land bank. Now, these were created since Mr. Duggan got in. They created the land bank, and then this land bank is selling off all our land, giving it to who they want to give it to. Then when a regular old Joe wants to buy some property that they say is real cheap, and then when that regular old Joe buy that property, what they do is come back with, well, you got a $10,000 water bill on this property, so you have to sign your name to this water bill in order to complete this deal. I mean, they're doing atrocious things to us, and I don't hear it. Nobody is talking about it. And then when he did this, Obama sent all this money in here to help Detroit to tear down the houses. He upped his contract friends $20,000 to tear down property that's been sitting up for 6 and 7 years abandoned. And that means that the regular homeowner, if their house catch on fire or something, we're gonna have to pay Mr. Duggan $20,000 just to get our house towed down. Now this was federal money. He could have used some of that money for the schools. He could have used some of that money to open up after-school programs, or he could have used some of that money to do some kind of training program for the kids. They took away everything from us. They took away all our schools, and with this voting thing that's coming up, Miss Winfrey, Janice Winfrey, we don't know if she's on the up and up, because she handled the national election with Hillary, and Mr. Duggan never came out and spoke up for Hillary. I never heard one advertisement, one TV program, nothing to help Hillary, and he said he's a Democrat. So they got everything in place. Mrs. Winfrey's husband is a Republican in the Senate. She's handling the votes. They were doing an investigation because it went so bad nationwide. But now, if they can do all that damage over there with these votes nationwide, you can imagine what they can do with a local. And then with the machines, we had voting machines in every school. Now we have no schools. So now that they're intimidating.
That's really sad what's going on in Detroit.
That's right,
Linda, and we are definitely concerned about it. And I know Rev is probably going to be talking about the exact same things that you brought to this program, but I do want to give Reverend Williams a chance to respond to some of what you said before the program ends. Thank you for the call. Go ahead,
Linda, thank you for your call again. And I think one of the things we got to do is we got to make sure we plugged in. You know, every Saturday morning,